I am a lonely single guy, and I have a little bit of money. I go on solo trips sometimes, mostly to have a good time, but sometimes to meet women in new areas. My job is remote, and if I have to move to meet the love of my life, I'll do it. I'm gonna have to stop all that though. I got an Airbnb across the country, totally new state, totally new area. It was a small beach town. I liked the beach. Maybe my future wife would live around here, if fate were kind. It was a small beach cabin a bit out of the way from the town. I liked being alone, and it had a strong Wi-Fi connection. I worked during the day and explored the beach and town at night. There are not many streetlights, so seeing in the dark is hard. Someone could follow you home and you wouldn't suspect a thing. I guess that's what happened. I got home from a couple hours at the only bar in town, and then an evening walk and curled up under the covers. I got maybe 2 hours of sleep when I heard a banging on the door. There's a small overlook outside the bedroom. I opened the sliding door and looked down. There was a woman. At least, I think it was a woman. I could see long blonde hair falling down from behind her hag mask. She didn't seem to notice me, but I noticed her and the big butcher knife she held. She banged again, and I must have made some noise like a whimper or sigh that was too loud, and she looked up. She waved to me, then pointed to her knife, and then at me. I screamed. No one was around to hear me. It was stupid, but I screamed as loud as I could. My screaming must have excited her because she started slamming her body into the door. Then I heard the sound of wood splintering, then snapping, and she disappeared. I screamed again and ran inside to lock the bedroom door. It was just in time because I heard her footsteps come up to the door. I heard her try the handle. My blood turned to ice. She didn't try slamming the bedroom door. She must have thought she could wait me out. I did something so crazy then. I climbed onto the roof. She must have heard that too. How did she hear so well? As I was out the sliding door and getting on the roof, she started slamming herself into the bedroom door. I was on the other side of the roof when I heard wood shattering again. The bedroom door had given. The cabin I was staying in had a small attic. I pried open one of the windows and crawled in, closing it behind me. I saw her muddy boots on the roof. It passed the attic window but never stopped. She didn't figure me out. I crawled slowly, stopping every time the sound of her footsteps sped up, until I got to the attic door and crawled out. The problem was the bang of the ladder from the attic. That got her attention. I heard her come into the bedroom again, saw her coming down through the broken bedroom window. I ran down the stairs into the small kitchenette. I grabbed a knife. I wasn't paying attention and wound up grabbing the smallest, wimpiest knife I'd ever seen. She was in the kitchenette as I turned around. She mined a laugh at my knife. The silence disturbed me. We slashed at each other. I missed, and she hit my forearm. I cursed at her and at the air, but I held the knife. I swung the blade at her one more time, and thank you Jesus hit one of the fingers holding the knife. For the first time, she made a noise. She screamed. She also dropped the knife. I ran screaming into the night. She didn't follow me. I guess she didn't think she could take me with her injury. I screamed all the way back into town, waking up just about everyone. They came out to check on me and take care of my wounds. After giving my report, I picked up what belongings I had that weren't shredded from the rental and flew home. I'm never leaving the house again. I never get sick, and honestly, I still feel like I don't. It was all the Airbnb's fault. A couple friends and I got a place to celebrate a couple individual accomplishments. Some promotions, some engagements, some career changes. Life stuff that was going well. A bonfire in the woods sounded like a good time. We all go there around the same time, with the fiancés coming a couple hours after us. Lovebirds are always in their own world. It was a pretty good time to start. We all ate fatty sausages and drank beers and roasted marshmallows, and did the same thing night after night. The hangovers and bloating crept up on all of us pretty quick. It was the hangovers, we thought at first. It was the hangovers that made us feel so sick. Soon, one by one, we were bedridden. I was the last to be able to move around. Like I said, I never get sick, so I was in charge of making sure everyone was okay and hydrated. Then, whatever mystery bug was going around hit me too, and soon I couldn't get out of bed. Then, Jerry's room really started to smell. We were all just waiting out the rental at that point, making appointments with our doctors when we got back. But Jerry's room started to smell. None of us had a lot of strength left, but the smell in Jerry's room got worse and worse. Someone had to check on him, especially because of Sarah and Jack, the lovebirds. Their rooms started to have the same smell. I just did it. I figured someone had to, and I never get sick, so I had to have it better than everyone else. I checked Jerry's room first. When I opened the door, the smell was so thick, the air felt heavy and wet. In Jerry's bed was Jerry's body. He had died, and it must have been a while, because he had rotted and bugs had started flying. What was interesting was there weren't too many bugs, just a couple. The bugs also seemed sick. On Jerry's body was mold. I struggled back to my room and called 911. I told them we were all sick and 3 of us had died. I didn't have to go into Sarah and Jack's room to know. They smelled the same, they were dead. A swarm of paramedics came into the woods an hour later. We were all carted away and we all looked terrible. 3 gurneys had blankets over them. Later, a team of hazmat suits went into the cabin. They tore into the bathroom walls and found piles of mold. In the kitchen walls, too. The entire walling of the cabin was caked in mold. There were talks of lawsuits from some of our families. I don't know if anything happened with that. I know that after several rounds of heavy antifungal medication and months in the hospital, those of us who didn't die recovered. We're still friends, but there's a palpable tension. We all feel the loss of that trip. It can be hard to meet up sometimes, but we do it anyway. Mold isn't going to destroy the love we have for each other, the love we've had for years, even if there are fewer seats at the table. I mean, I don't know where to start. I'm a widower now, and every day is torture. I really loved my wife. We had planned a little getaway for ourselves. We had a 1-year-old, and we needed a break from the trudge of parenting and adult life. We were so excited to get away. Honestly, we'd been so stressed with the new kid that we'd been fighting a lot. This was a chance to reconnect as a couple. We picked a small cabin in the woods that was way overpriced. We drove out like an hour outside of town and up into a mountain range. It was so peaceful. No crying baby noises or bosses, just us. We felt the stress fall off as we opened the door into the cabin. That night, my wife and I cooked dinner for the first time in forever. We ate it together and we both agreed it was delicious. We were exhausted and just fell asleep holding each other. The next day, we went on a hike, the most perfect hike ever created. We were panting and out of breath and sweaty when we got back to the cabin, and it took every ounce of self-control we had to make it to the bedroom inside. We started remembering old jokes we shared that stress made us forget. It was truly, totally perfect. Then, one night, we heard a low grunting and banging against the door. Our bedroom window didn't overlook the front door, so I had to go down with whatever I could find to figure out who or what was trying to get in. I took a dull decorative sword off the wall and crept down the stairs and up to one of the big windows by the entrance. I pulled the curtain apart, just a crack, a small crack. No way anyone could notice the size of the crack. I just don't understand how then the mountain lion at the door could have noticed it. It yowled and threw itself at the window. The glass was strong, and the first strike only cracked the glass, giving me enough time to rush up the stairs. At the top of the stairs, I heard the cougar get in. It raced up the stairs after me. I locked the door behind me, but it wouldn't be good for long. The cougar was already clawing its way through the door. I quickly told my wife what happened. We grabbed our phones, some flashlights, and worked our way out the small window onto the roof. I was so stupid. I went out first. I should have let her go. She was halfway out. She was almost there. The mountain lion broke in and grabbed her, pulling her in and mauling her. Her screams were the worst sound I've ever heard. I was so selfish. I just jumped down and ran. I left her. I called the cops and they came, but the mountain lion had left with most of my wife. I went home alone from the best trip of my life. I sued the Airbnb host, sure, but I don't care if I win. Money is nothing. I miss my wife. I need her. Our sons need her.